Never Finished by David Goggins' abridged version. Unleash your mind and win the inner war. David Goggins invites us into his mind lab, where he forged the philosophy and strategies that allowed him to transform his life. Through honest and revealing stories, Goggins demonstrates that what we consider our limits are actually stepping stones toward endless greatness. Key point 1. Unshakable belief. The mind will always look for the easiest way out, the shortcut that alleviates effort and minimizes pain. It's not a lack of ability, it's internal programming designed for survival. But those who surrender to that comfort will never know their true potential. Belief isn't an optimistic thought or an empty affirmation. It's a brutal, ruthless, and tangible force forged in the darkest moments. The toughest trials don't appear in the comfort of home or on days of success, but at the exact moment when all seems lost. The body breaks, the will wavers, and fear becomes an ever-present shadow. That's when the truth is revealed. Those who have built an unshakable belief endure, not because they are stronger or smarter, but because they have developed the ability to stand when everything inside them screams at them to give up. Belief is a decision. It doesn't come magically, nor is it inherited. It's built through suffering, repetition, and extreme discipline. Every day is an opportunity to push boundaries, to prove there's more within oneself than the mind allows us to see. Most people settle for less because they've never gone beyond. They've never seen what lurks behind absolute fatigue, behind unbearable pain, behind paralyzing doubt. Only those who dare to explore that frontier, who have reached the brink of collapse and decided to move forward, know what belief truly means. It's not hope. It's not a passing motivation. It's a state of being. It becomes the foundation upon which a life without excuses is built. Without belief, everything collapses. Without belief, the mind finds reasons to retreat, to justify itself, to stop prematurely. But those who possess it can be alone, exhausted, defeated, and still find a way forward, because they've tested their own resilience, because they've fallen and gotten back up so many times that failure is no longer a fear, but a tool. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment or having all the conditions aligned. It's about taking action, enduring, pushing beyond the self-imposed limit. Only then can we discover what truly lies within. And once you know that truth, it's impossible to return to mediocrity. Key point 2. The mind as a laboratory. Everything that seems impossible is nothing more than an unsolved equation. Pain, fatigue, fear, insecurity. Each of these elements is a piece of data in a larger experiment. It's not about eliminating them, but rather understanding their function, analyzing them with the detachment of a scientist. Whoever understands this will turn their mind into a laboratory, a space where every obstacle is an opportunity to discover a new form of resistance. The problem is that most people aren't willing to observe their own minds with this rawness. They prefer to cling to old stories, inherited excuses, self-imposed limits that were once useful but now only function as chains. In the mental laboratory, there is no room for pity or nostalgia. It's about testing, adjustments, and results. If something isn't working, it's corrected. If the pain becomes unbearable, we investigate how to endure it further. If fear paralyzes us, we dissect until we find our weak point. The body screams when it's at its limit, but the mind has the ability to ignore it. Not because it's insensitive, but because it understands that pain isn't a signal to stop, but a message that must be interpreted. Those who become accustomed to living with suffering without reacting emotionally, without giving in to the impulse to escape, discover that there are deeper layers of strength waiting to be tapped. The most brutal experiments in this laboratory don't happen under optimal conditions. They occur when there is no hope, when energy has run out, when the mind begins to fabricate stories about the impossible. This is where the most valuable data lies, the answers that only appear when all else has failed. The mental laboratory never closes. There is no rest, no respite. Every day is a new opportunity to challenge a previous theory, to test a different method, to refine the strategy. While others seek comfort, those who operate within this laboratory are willing to play with fire, to find what truly makes them indestructible. And once the system is discovered, there is no turning back. Key point 3. Mastering pain and adversity. Pain is not an enemy. Most people run away from it, avoid it, treat it as a sign that something is wrong. But in reality, pain is a teacher. It is the only force capable of revealing what is truly within oneself. It's not about enduring it without reason, but about understanding that within every moment of suffering lies an opportunity to strengthen the mind. The problem is that society has turned comfort into a goal. We are taught to look for shortcuts, to minimize effort, to avoid any form of discomfort. However, those who never face pain never discover themselves. The moments of greatest growth come not when everything is aligned, but when the body and mind are on the verge of collapse, and instead of giving up, we choose to keep going. Every pain has a purpose. Physical, mental, emotional. Each is a test designed to expose weaknesses. Only those willing to face them can correct them. If fear becomes a barrier, the only solution is to go straight toward it. If exhaustion begins to cloud your vision, it's a sign that there's a new frontier to cross. Adversity isn't a punishment. It's a gift. It's life's way of asking how serious you are about growing. Those who fail aren't those who feel pain, but those who interpret it as a reason to stop. Every person has a point where they believe they can't take it anymore. That point isn't real. It's an artificial barrier imposed by years of conditioning. The key is to turn pain into a tool, not something to be passively endured, but a force to be used strategically. Those who learn to live with discomfort, to make it an ally, to seek it out rather than avoid it, become unstoppable. Because when pain is no longer a barrier, neither is fatigue, insecurity, or failure. Everything becomes an experiment to see how far you can go. And the answer is always beyond what was thought possible. Key point 4. The war against mediocrity. Mediocrity is the most dangerous enemy because it disguises itself as normality. It takes root in routine, in daily excuses, in the idea that you're doing enough when in reality you're doing the bare minimum. Most people settle for what they have, not because it's enough, but because the effort to go beyond seems too great. It's not about talent, luck, or intelligence. It's about disposition. Mediocrity is a choice, a silent pact signed every time you choose comfort over growth, excuses over discipline, immediate gratification over true evolution. It's a poison that numbs ambition and turns people into shadows of what they could be. Every day is a battlefield. The war isn't against others. It's against the weak, lazy, and fearful version of yourself. That version will always look for an easy way out, a reason to stop, an excuse not to do the necessary work. Those who aren't on their guard will fall into its trap and wake up one day wondering when they became ordinary. The problem with mediocrity is that it's comfortable. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't demand sacrifice. It doesn't force you to face fear or failure. But it also doesn't allow you to discover what's truly hidden inside. Only those willing to live in a state of permanent discomfort manage to break out of this trap. Every action counts. There are no insignificant moments, no days off in this war. If you give in once, you'll give in again. If you allow one excuse, more will come. The only way to overcome mediocrity is to refuse to accept less than what you are capable of achieving, not only in moments of inspiration, but when everything inside you wants to give up. The difference between those who excel and those who fall behind isn't luck or opportunity. It's the ability to recognize mediocrity and wage war on it every day. It's a never-finished struggle, because the enemy will always seek a new way to infiltrate. But those who remain vigilant, who never let their guard down, become those who not only avoid mediocrity, but destroy it with every action. Key point 5. Discipline as religion. keeping people entertained instead of focused. In this environment, the only way forward is to make discipline an unwavering principle, a personal religion that guides every action, every decision, every day. It's not about motivation or inspiration. It's an absolute commitment to constant improvement, no matter the circumstances. Discipline isn't something you turn on and off. It doesn't depend on mood or external conditions. It's an internal structure, a code that is followed without question. Do what must be done, when it must be done, without excuses. It doesn't matter if you're tired, if the weather is bad, if no one is looking. True discipline is what you do in the dark, when there's no applause or recognition. Every day presents a choice. Do what's necessary or give in to comfort. Most people choose the latter because sacrifice is uncomfortable, because effort hurts, because settling for mediocrity is easier. But every time you give in, you weaken your will, open the door to excuses, and miss an opportunity to grow stronger. Discipline is built through repetition. There are no secrets, no shortcuts. It's getting up when your body craves a break. It's training when your mind wants to postpone it. It's working when others are wasting their time. Every action either strengthens the system or weakens it. There is no middle ground. Those who make discipline their religion become immune to laziness, doubt, and procrastination. They become someone who doesn't need external motivation because their internal structure compels them to act without depending on desire. Self-discipline is the only way to ensure constant progress. There is no need for inspiration when the habit of doing the right thing is so ingrained that it is executed without thinking. In a world where most people seek comfort, those who embrace discipline as an absolute principle stand apart from the rest. Not because they're more talented or more fortunate, but because they've decided to live by a code that pushes them beyond what others are willing to endure. And that difference, repeated day after day, defines who falls behind and who advances. Key point 6. Breaking self-imposed limits. The mind is the greatest obstacle. Not the body, not circumstances, not external challenges. Everything that seems impossible is just a barrier created by limiting beliefs, by fear, by years of conformity. Breaking through those limits is the only way to discover what you're truly capable of. The most common mistake is accepting one's own excuses as truth. I'm no good at this. I can't go any further. This is the most I can do. Each of these phrases is a self-imposed sentence, a self-built cell. No matter how strong these beliefs seem, they are just thoughts, and thoughts can be destroyed. The body always has more to give. The mind can always handle more, but most never discover this because they give up at the first point of resistance. When fatigue sets in, it's assumed to be the limit. When fear creeps in, it's taken as a signal to stop. But all of that is a lie. Limits aren't real until they're accepted as such. Whenever a barrier is faced, there are two options: retreat or push beyond. Most retreat. Those who push forward discover that the supposed limit was only a test, an artificial boundary that can be crossed with enough determination. And in doing so, a whole new world of possibilities opens up. Breaking boundaries isn't a single act, it's a process. It requires confronting pain, ignoring the desire to give up, and testing yourself again and again until the new reality becomes the norm. Each time you overcome an internal obstacle, you are reinforced by the conviction that there is no real limit, only an infinite field of growth waiting to be explored. Most people never reach their true potential because they stop too soon. But those who understand that every limit is an illusion, that every barrier is an opportunity, that there is always a hidden reserve of strength waiting to be tapped, will be able to break through mediocrity and enter a level of performance that few reach. Because the only way to know how far you can go is to refuse to accept any limit as definitive. Key point 7. The battle with oneself never ends. There is no finish line. There is no point at which one can say, "I've arrived," where effort is no longer necessary, where the work is complete. The struggle against weakness, against laziness, against the most fragile version of oneself is endless. Whoever lets their guard down, whoever relaxes, believing they've already reached their peak, begins to deteriorate without realizing it. The mistake many make is to think that success is a destination. They achieve a goal, reach a target, and believe the work is over. But true growth is endless. There's always a new peak to climb, a new level of resilience to develop, a stronger version to build. The mind will seek to deceive, trying to convince you that enough is enough, that the extra effort isn't worth it. But that's a trap. Complacency is the first step toward mediocrity. The enemy never disappears, it only changes form. Today it may be doubt, tomorrow laziness, then arrogance. There will always be something to fight. The only solution is to remain at war, not with the outside world, but with the part of yourself that wants to give in, that wants to conform. That battle is fought every day, in every decision. Every moment the mind offers an excuse. Only those who refuse to accept comfort as an option manage to remain constantly evolving. There is no end point in this struggle. The only way is to keep going, to keep pushing, to keep finding new ways to challenge one's limits. The battle never ends, but it is in that daily combat that true strength lies. And only those who are willing to fight relentlessly discover what they are truly capable of. Conclusion. True transformation doesn't happen in comfort, but in the constant struggle against oneself. Every limit, every excuse, and every mental barrier are our own creations that can be destroyed with discipline, resilience, and an unwavering will. Pain isn't an obstacle, but a tool to discover how far we can go. Mediocrity is a silent enemy that infiltrates our routine, and only those who fight it daily manage to overcome it. Discipline isn't optional. It's the only way to ensure continued growth. There's no finish line, the battle never ends, and in that constant struggle lies the true meaning of greatness. Only those willing to challenge themselves relentlessly, who seek progress rather than comfort, achieve transcendence. The key is simple: never stop, never settle, never give up. Get the book at planetalibro.com.